beginning Bible study for the parish not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. How about 5 minutes of a little Bible study for context? Kind of gets you in the mood, gets me in the mood for teaching. And I warned John when I saw him before he came in, I said, careful with the second reading because I'm going to make reference to it, not so much in the sermon, but before. Fascinating. An old man is in prison, Paul. He's at the end of his days. And he writes this letter himself. It's the shortest book in the New Testament, the letter to Philemon, somebody he knows. And he's writing about a runaway slave. Onesimus is a runaway slave who apparently left his master, got hooked up with Paul, became a convert to Christianity, and became very close to Paul. Something almost like traveled with him, assisted him and whatnot. He was close enough to spend time with Paul when Paul was in jail. And now that Paul kind of has the sense that things are not going to turn out well for him, he's sending him back. And he's doing so kind of stepping outside the comfort zone of his own culture. He's sending this slave back to his former master, and he said, look, I could ask you to do something. I'm not going to demand this of you, but I'm going to ask this of you. Take him back, not as your slave, but as your brother. As someone who ministers just as I ministered and you minister. Accept him as something new and someone new, as your equal. And in Paul's world, this is unheard of. The reason I want to bring this up is because I want to talk about the gospel, and then I'll give you the end of the story as we think we know it. This is supposed to be the first Sunday back when everyone is back from vacation. If you look around, you can see them all here. Okay? And on that first Sunday, why such very serious, heavy readings? This would be the Sunday to start talking about things like, well, what did you do over the last several weeks or months, all right? Those of you who play golf, did you improve your game? Did you travel? Did you go take trips and cruises and whatnot? Those of you who like baseball can now talk to me and torture me about how awful that season's been. You know, all the things we do for fun. We're still in a mindset we don't want to do anything serious yet. Not yet. All right, a couple of days yet, but not yet. But this is not about the cost of a vacation or the cost of ice cream. It's about the cost of discipleship. And I'm not talking about stewardship here. Not specifically. You want to follow Jesus, be prepared to pay the price. I am intrigued how the scripture passage starts off today. It says that Jesus is now teaching and he's drawing large crowds to himself. And just as he starts gaining in popularity and appealing with which had to be a very comforting, soothing message, he turns around on people and really challenges them and gets in their face and really hits them hard. Now, you all know that marketing experts, you know, they tell you, you want to sell your product. You got to use the right words, use the right concepts, use the right tone of voice. All of this is what marketing does, okay? And to be very truthful with you, I go to workshops as a pastor, and we get told, listen, you want to grow your parish, you've got to follow marketing procedures. You've got to use the right words, use the right concepts, use the right tone of voice. Don't ever insult people. Don't ever make them uncomfortable. And if I were to do that, I would have to hand my resignation because I wouldn't be much of a faithful priest, would I? There's a difference between focusing and pandering. Jesus is at the height of his popularity. He is going to head down to Jerusalem, and now, very soon, all of these people who are screaming and cheering are going to turn around and they're going to call for his head. And they're going to want to kill him. So here's the question I ask in our own culture. Where were his speechwriters? What about his handlers, all right? You don't want to go out with a message that if you really want people to follow you and say, if you don't carry your cross, you can't be my disciple. If you're not willing to hate the people you are supposed to love the most, then you're not worthy of me. That is not going to make you popular, okay? And, you know, what are we watching in the political realm? We watch this now. It's not just this time. It's constantly. The Sunday morning talk shows, which you're not seeing because you're here. But what happens? These characters, they all go out. This is not a political stand on either person. I'm a political atheist. After 4 years, you know that, okay? I am equally despondent and disparaging of all. They go out, they have the 4 or 5 talking points they want to make with the right words. No matter what the question is, that's the answer. You never get to know what the person really thinks or really feels or really wants to do. And if Jesus did that, he would have kept to understand the word hate. You've got to hate your mother, your father, your family, the people who are close to you. Not in terms of I want to kill or harm, but there was another meaning to that term in that culture. And it was the notion of detachment, of not being emotionally linked to or crippled by or totally emotionally involved. In other words, whoever has the most importance in your life, that's the person you give your full allegiance to. It's a matter of prioritizing. And what he is saying in no uncertain terms, that in speaking to what they really need to hear, maybe not what they want to hear, maybe not what we want to hear. If you want to follow me, then you have to follow me. You have to make that journey. You want to be a believer, you have to believe, heart and soul. Take him at his word. Be a part of his community, live his life, eat of his meal, partake of his congregation, be drenched in his grace, walk his path, and be willing to pay the cost of a lack of popularity when and if that day comes. It's not popular. No one likes the person who is different, but it is essential. And when you follow Jesus and really take that message to heart, you may not know the impact you will have on others or the impact those others will have in the future. Call it a spiritual paying it forward. So here's the rest of the story about Onesimus. Don't know much about the fact that after Paul sends him back to his master. But we do know this from the writings of Irenaeus, who was a bishop in the 2nd century. And he speaks about the fact that after John left Ephesus, the next bishop of Ephesus was a person named Onesimus, who testified to the Christian faith to such an extent, who was such an impassioned preacher for Christ, that he was martyred. Paul, stepping outside of his culture, asks a friend, take him back as a brother, do something that's totally